usually modest, but this beat lit, so I'm going off the list, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm screaming with the rawness. I gotta admit that usually modest, but I work hard for my shit. Do the work, yeah, do it till it hurts. I'll invest in my future, I'll invest in the purse. I wanna be so rich, life changes, and I don't ever think about how much I just pay it. Yeah, it's a dream, the American dream. Live a dream, don't stop till you got everything. But there's balance, cause this life is a challenge. You gotta live in the now, I'm building on the couch. Just make commas, turn a profit. I'm the boss with a vodka, but it ain't chocolate. I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. I'm usually modest, but this beat lit, so I'm going off the list, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm screaming with the rawness. I gotta admit that usually modest, but I work hard for my shit. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So keep working till it's certain, cause that's when you start deserving everything you want, everything you need. Trust the process that you got, just keep on working till you bleed. Yeah, been there, yeah, done that. 10 long years of breaking my back, but now I'm up here, never looking back. I got more dreams that I wanna go attack. Keep on going, keep on moving, never give up. I'll keep going, I can prove just what I made of. I got that fire in me, got that desire in me. I'm never tired, I'll be pushing till I'm finally free. I was made to break away from the past, to challenge, to fight, and to fight on down. Like this world wasn't made for the weak, they don't last. Survival of the fittest, so ambitious and attack. I'm the type to make commas, turn a profit. I'm the boss with a vodka, but it ain't chocolate. I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. For usually modest, but this beat lit, so I'm going off the list, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm screaming with the rawness. I gotta admit that usually modest, but I work hard for my shit. Chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always think what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bait, don't need a bait. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, take a break. Now wake up, it's time to look. It's got the enemy. Look in the mirror and be real afraid of me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time, is some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm Yo, I just gotta hit it one time. Let's go. About to hit the gas for a minute, no cap, no limit. I attack till I finish that track, till I hit, I got my cash on liquid, never pass my limit. Too fast when I'm spitting, read it back, never get it all. Flipping that switches, I'm hitting these bars like a game stop. Stacking games, some big old bars, and these kids, no kidding. Never winning the city, getting my best, like it while I'm hitting on a mission. I see, I know they like me, but I got a wife, but she be real nice to me. No one works like me, gotta get on my team. My rhythm is pricey, got a different psyche. Ooh, let me your icy, living life nicely, very precisely, living divinely, manifest wisely. All I know is that I've been living for the sightseeing, been around the world for the present, first class ticket. Man, I'm winning, I don't have no limit. If I want it, then I get it. If I want it, then I get it. I ain't never done, finished, I'm a giver. I've been jumping first place, I've been winning 6 shots since finished, but I still keep ripping and I still keep hitting 2 ways.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday evening. I am Tyler Twins, back with you again for some Week 3 action, and I am joined by my main man, Cal. How you doing, man?
Not doing too bad. Another 0-3. Happy to report. Didn't think it would happen, but it did. So I was off record saying I could win, so I'm glad I was off record on that.
Well, hey, you know what? I don't know about you, and I know this actually isn't something that you and I have discussed off air or anything, but for me, this is actually one of the best weeks of the sport calendar. Because I don't know if you know this, but on Thursday, we have the NFL draft kicking off, and so
yes.
to celebrate, we're drinking out of a little Vikings mug tonight in
love
hopes that we do something smart on Thursday. But yeah, how about you? I don't think we've ever really talked football or anything like that. Are you a football guy? You got a football fan? What?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I'm a huge football guy.
Okay.
I'm a Raiders fan, which is,
Okay.
I love losing. It's my big thing, my passion.
Well, hey, we're both looking for a QB on Thursday, so you got to be excited
Yes.
too, right?
See, I don't know. Like, I just saw an interview with Gardner Minshew, and I'm a little bit sold. I don't even want a quarterback. I'm like, dude, go get a tough lineman, either side. I don't care. Either get someone to help Max out on the D line, or you just get a tough O lineman. I don't care. Let Gardner sling it. Probably get a Super Bowl, most likely.
It's almost guaranteed at this point, right?
Yeah, you would think, but just
That's
off
awesome.
of vibes only. I mean, the Guardians, they've got one of the best records in baseball off of pure vibes.
Yep,
Why can't the Raiders do it?
100%.
That's all you need.
I feel you. I wish I could say the same about Sam Darnold. I don't get those vibes having him under center, but whatever keeps JJ around and in purple for the rest of his career, I will take. So,
Absolutely.
but anyway, at least hopefully something to get you feeling good. Maybe not taking a look at the record in baseball, but maybe the Raiders record will be better this year. Who knows?
It's a nice distraction.
Exactly.
Sure.
But yeah, anyway, tonight we're going to be taking a look, power rankings, standings, early on in the season, kind of as I've always said, it's fun to look at these rankings because there usually is a decent amount of movement. And it kind of remains to be seen how the new hot cold modifier will play into it as well as we move along. But lots of movement there. We'll talk about that, talk about some standing stuff, move on to talking about transactions, which I know just even from some DMs from some people, there's some people really looking forward to us talking about the massive trade that went down this week and some of the discussion along with it. We'll go over the FAAB discussion, I guess, for a little bit, and then talk about next week at the end. So to get it started, I'll bring us over to our power rankings here. And to kick it off, there was, as I mentioned before, a ton of movement. All but 4 teams had moved in some capacity in the standings this week. You were one team that didn't move. I know you wish you would have.
I legit thought I did. I feel like 240 felt respectable. I feel like I beat a decent number of teams.
Yeah.
And I had a decent strength of schedule.
Yeah.
I thought for sure I might go up to like 29.
Well, and if you look,
I thought I might get there.
If you look like at just strength of schedule in general from week 3, you're at 248, and you were actually kind of on the lower end in terms of teams you played, just on average. But I mean, realistically, between Lenny and I see Lenny's here in chat too. So I think are you guys playing each other this week? I think, right? Yeah.
Yes,
so he's talking about you beating him already. But yeah, I mean, you between the Reds, White Sox, and Angels, you guys are all within 20 points of each other. So that's relatively nothing in these power rankings. But only other team not moving, Joe Dodgers sitting up at 5. But otherwise, like I said, everyone kind of moving. Any thoughts on that?
I was kind of surprised. This is a team that didn't move. I was kind of surprised by, and I'd say the Guardians just kind of staying put, putting up 280.
5. Sorry.
Yeah. But I mean, no. Make sure I had the right week. I don't think they put 280 this week.
No.
Let me double check that. But still, I mean, because I was already in the wrong one. But 276, so almost 280. They put 276 last week, but they had some kind of weak opponents, so I get why it didn't move. But I don't know if they really belong down at the bottom. I was surprised to see it. I know statistically they do, but yeah, that was one team that kind of was like, oh, I thought they'd be at least a little bit higher, a few spots.
And he took an interesting approach. I think if I remember correctly, he was one of those teams that went the injured pitcher route. I feel like he maybe got a couple of them.
Route, which is very close by.
Yeah. So which shockingly they're 25th and 27th in the power rankings.
Exactly.
Not shockingly, obviously, but I think that was that's an interesting call out for me specifically. I always want to put out some good power rankings and rankings that everyone in the league enjoys, and so to me the rankings feel good right now.
Yes,
I felt like the teams are relatively ranked accurately to how they're performing currently, and not just where their records are. Part of the desire from members of the league, Seth Mariner specifically, was to kind of add that hot cold modifier type thing to have record maybe mean a little bit more. But so far, again, early on, hasn't really had too much of an impact. I have a top 6 record in the league, but I'm ranked 18th or 19th actually, which I think is very accurate for where my team has performed. And then Detroit as well. They have a worse record than me. They have one more loss, but they're second in the league right now in rankings. So very, very happy with that. Another example, Diamondbacks, they're a 5-4 team. That NL West out there is pretty nuts right now, but they're ranked 24 or 25th. Yeah. So that makes a big difference there too. But how about just some different takes maybe that you had from the rankings yourself? What were some things that stood out to you?
So I honestly, like top to bottom, I'm shocked because I do agree with you. Like overall, it's settling in very nicely, very quickly. Even with we've had some roller coaster weeks.
Yeah,
I was happy to see the Yankees not really move, even though they kind of had a down week. I mean, they're still a powerhouse team, so I think that still shows it's indicative that this is working well. But I think the main thing with the Guardians that I was bringing up is just that's kind of like the June 1st committee in that range. I was just shocked to see them in that realm. It's just odd to see, I guess. It's maybe it was just jarring more than it is, something that I thought should be different. But no, honestly, I don't. There was a couple like the Rockies fell off big, and the Mets skyrocketing. Mets put up a huge week, so I totally expected that to be a huge jump, but. Tough to see Allen's Rockies just plummet down in the mid yellows already. It's a bummer.
That's it's unfortunate. I know I had kind of highlighted some of the big risers and maybe big fallers like I did every week over the past couple of seasons, and the Mets with huge move, kind of as you may up 9 spots into the 13 spot, which it was it kind of helped them that I think it was 221 was their average last week for strength of schedule, which actually is really low. But because of their performance just in general, as well as the hot and cold modifier, that helped bump them up, which again, I think is a good thing. That's how it should be, right? Even though they played crappy opponents, they shit on those crappy opponents as they should. So that's a good thing. Mets moved up 9, and then both the Tigers and Padres moved up 5. And I know you had something in here about the Padres last week beating one of our top 5 teams.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the Padres, because the good thing about this weekly is that it's kind of hard to get lucky. You can at times, but I mean, if you put out a solid lineup, like you can beat a good. It's not easy to be a good team, basically. Like the better team will most likely win over a week span.
Yep.
So to see the Padres put down the Dodgers, I was like, that's a huge upset. Did not expect that at all going into the week.
Did you look at any details in the matchup specifically? Where did Greg?
I had. Because I wasn't sure if it was a pitching thing. It could have been a discrepancy with pitching, or if maybe there was just one massive week from somebody. I hadn't looked deep into that, but just the fact of beating them alone, it was not the team I would have picked at the top of the Dodgers.
Well, it's almost like maybe I should just pull up the scoring from last week.
Yeah, it was close. I mean, they both scored 300 points.
So let's see,
313 to 300.
We'll go
Padres.
period 3 here once it decides to load here.
Yeah, so I'm looking right now. It looks like the big bats came alive for the Padres. They had Abrams with 36 for the week.
Oh, wow.
De La Cruz with 34 for the week. Even Santander with 28.
Yeah. Okay.
Pitching wasn't like lights out. It was just there's just enough pitching to keep pace with Joe's pitchers.
How many? Yeah, and he actually only got 7 starts or 6 starts to Joe's 7.
Yeah, so I mean, he just had a huge week from like Abrams and De La Cruz.
Yeah, and Joe had Pepe had got him 23. Duvall and Iglesias both got him 24 as relief guys. So like, it's not Joe didn't have a awful week. It looks like his bats maybe didn't. Well, I mean, Adolis had 29, Lindor 26. So really, it was just Greg's big guys just barely outshined Joe's big guys. Is kind of what it looked like. Because pitching was relatively comparable. So interesting. Good note there. So yeah, and then just in terms of the fallers, I guess is what we'll call them. We mentioned before, Allen obviously dropping 7 spots down to 17, still in the yellow, so he's got to be happy with that. He's not back in the red yet, and I know he's been dealing with some injuries too, like a lot of us have. But hopefully, obviously, his team can pick it back up. Blue Jays fell down. They went down 6, which they're in the red now, which is probably my most surprising to me, given how many moves Gary made in the offseason to what I thought was bolster his team, which again, he's talked about injuries and having a lot of guys sent down and that kind of stuff. So that really has hurt him. Then the Astros fell 5 as well. They obviously started hot in the top 10 for the first few weeks, and now they are just outside the top 10. So 2 other notes, 3 NL West teams in the top 5 or top 10. But that whole division is nuts. They're all above 500 right now. Again, Diamondbacks maybe a little bit of an anomaly, being that they're ranked 25th right now and they're still 5-4, but hard to tell. But anything else you kind of had from the week standings wise?
Yeah, it's Jeff had a monster week for most weeks, I would think.
Yeah.
The Cardinals here.
Yeah.
I put up 380, which is going to beat pretty much anybody week in, week out. But who he beat was, I think, just more impressive. He took down Pirates, the A's, and the Giants.
Yep.
All are within their own right, like top teams in the league.
Yep.
So a humongous 3-0 week. I mean, would have been happy to go 2-1 at best.
Totally.
To scrape by. But no, just leveled the field. Absolutely.
I'd be happy to go 1-2.
Absolutely.
Against those teams.
I'd be happy to go 0-3. So absolutely.
Just compete in the week, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, Jeff was second last week in points behind John of the Tigers. But then, I mean, Las Vegas was 8th, Pittsburgh was 9th, and the Giants were 11th. So, he had to have a top 5 scoring week in order to beat all 3 of those teams, which obviously his team is more than capable of doing. So, cool. All right. Anything else you wanted to throw in there?
Yeah, I kind of somewhat brought it up earlier, but Yankees had a kind of a roller coaster the past 2 weeks. I think they had the highest score last week with a kind of 364 they put up last week, and then come into the next week scoring. Honestly, I would have competed with him. That's the type of week he had. So I think I was like a point away.
It was. Let's see. Last week
went 0-3. So to go from like the mountain of mountains and just show everyone who's boss.
Yeah.
Go 0-3 the next week. That's humbling. So,
exactly.
Pick up pieces from there, I guess.
Exactly. It's very humbling. As I guess neither one of us would necessarily know yet to be able to go from top to bottom.
Yeah,
but
I'm so humble. I'm the most humble.
Yeah, he looks like he was just below David of the A's last week, and then this week he was all the way down at 23rd. Really, really close. Looks like you guys were separated by like a point. So it's pretty.
Yeah, that was
crazy.
Wild to see that. That's why I thought I had a good week. I'm like, that's not too bad.
Yeah,
I'm with the Yankees.
Good stuff. All right. Well, yeah. So good changing in the power rankings, or good changes in the power rankings this week. Obviously, they'll continue to kind of settle, and I'll obviously kind of using this year to kind of just feel out how the rankings are looking, how they're going. If we need to make adjustments to the formula at all, we can. But let's get rid of this sheet down here. Too much noise down at the bottom. But yeah, outside of that, that's pretty much it. So let's move on to transactions, if you're good with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So big topic, obviously, of the week. Not only just in general, because it was really our only, major trade, but caused a lot of discussion in the main ABL chat, which actually I just noticed Zach said, "Good evening, gentlemen." So I wanted to acknowledge Zach for being here. Appreciate you showing up, Zach, as always. Let's talk about the big trade, and I'll highlight it right here. So the Michael Arroyo, Frank of the Cubs, sent to Steve of the Orioles, and Steve sent $15 of FAAB back to Frank. And now for anyone, I guess, in ABL who's been living under a rock, which I don't really believe is anyone, I'm assuming everyone saw the discussion in some capacity about Steve putting the $20 FAAB up on the block, and then the whole discussion that ensued after that. Before we kind of get into anything, what are your own maybe personal thoughts on FAAB in general? Sure. And then, maybe parlay that into, what were your thoughts on the trade?
Well, I mean, I feel like I've been spending FAAB more frequently this year, which is a bad year to do it. And I only have $20 left, which that's one Taylor Trammell away from disaster. I'm about to cash out here. So
that reference is going to live on forever.
I mean, when you screw up that bad, you have to. But honestly, I feel like Steven, it didn't matter who the prospect was. I don't care. Michael Arroyo was irrelevant. It was 100%. I'm going to do a verbal meme here. I thought of it right now because I would have already sent it in the chat. But it's 1,000% when the Joker just lights all the money on fire. 100%. And it's like, it's about sending a message. 100%. That's what he did. I mean, it's very fair. And for someone like Steven to do it, I think it shows more. Like if he's the one saying that FAAB is overvalued, then it probably is at the time, mainly because that's someone who prospects a lot. And so even that $1 is valuable to him. For someone who's looking at, he's a big J15 guy. I mean, he's very deep in the weeds of prospects. Obviously, he's our number one prospect guy, kind of our go-to. Yeah. So for that guy to be like, no, I mean, you guys got this all wrong. It should give somebody pause, I would think. I get the arguments about it. It at times is all relative, but I thought proved last year that it wasn't, because so many teams had leftover FAAB. So that's kind of where I fall on it. Like, I'm not gonna hate either way, whether the rule stayed or whether it goes to 40. Was not gonna affect me much. But I think Steven absolutely kind of showed what he was working with, I think, on that one. Hey, here it is, like $15, call it good, see you later. Doesn't matter who it is, send a message, basically. And I think interesting couple of points I think that you made. One, the first piece being that this whole conversation is subjective, right? Like I can value FAAB more than anyone else in the league, and you can not value it at all, and we can both be right? I mean, it all depends on how we're going to value it and use it based on what we think is best for our team. But so I think that's a big point. But then two, I think to your point about, us kind of looking to Steve as a big minors guy, has a lot of knowledge around it, or around prospects in general. I think, we have a lot of, obviously, owners in this league who have a ton of knowledge on prospects. I like to include you and I in that conversation as well. Yes. But I think because of that, right, it did give me pause when Steven put up something like that. But I have my own personal evaluations. I'm down, I think, to 23 as well. Actually, I might be down to 22 now, because I think I spent one today. I'm down to 22 FAAB as well. So to me, I think FAAB is very valuable, especially with all the injuries that have happened this year. I seem to take one person off the IL and put two people on every week. And it keeps piling up, and I'm getting to the point where I'm just like, I will take literally anyone who is playing even if it's 1 day a week, just to make sure that I'm trying to maximize as many points as possible on my roster. So I think it's an interesting point that we have someone in the league who loves prospects, super knowledgeable, and is like, FAAB is worth nothing. And then we also have other people in the league who also care a lot about prospects, and they're like, FAAB is everything, right? I think that's a really, really interesting dynamic, and that's why we create the discussion that we have. Now, to kind of move it to the actual trade itself, what's your opinion on $15 for Michael Arroyo? Do you like him as a prospect? I know what you just said about FAAB and stuff, so we kind of know where your valuation is there. What's your valuation of a prospect like Arroyo compared to that
$15
I mean,
valuation.
I personally, I wouldn't do it, but I don't. Again, like I said, I don't think it was about the prospect. He wasn't like, oh yeah, go. I need to get Michael Arroyo so bad. Here's $15.
And just
No,
to be clear,
he put it out there.
You wouldn't trade the 15 for Arroyo, or you wouldn't trade Arroyo for the 15.
No, I would not trade $15 FAAB for Arroyo.
Okay,
I don't.
so the
I don't.
FAAB is more
I
important.
feel like, yeah, I think you can get an Arroyo with $1. You know, I don't know if that's fair, but I'm saying like he can grow into an Arroyo.
Sure.
I'm not saying you're gonna. There's that guy out there, but I'm saying you can if you put it. I mean, it's all throwing darts anyways.
Yep.
Because I mean, Arroyo could just he's like 19.
Yep.
You know, I mean, who knows what he is.
Yep.
But I feel like that $1 can grow into Arroyo faster than $15.
Interesting.
So, but that again, totally subjective.
Subjective, 100%.
Yeah, I do like the way Steven did it. I mean, it's perfect. It's just like, this is how I feel about it. I'm going to prove to you guys how. I'm going to show him, put it out there. And, you know, someone took him up on it. He has a Royal now.
Yep.
I think he's fine. He's not like a bad prospect or anything.
No.
It's just not like, I don't think it's $15 worth, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think I've seen in the past, it's gone for, you know, less.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. And I think it's much less about the price, right? Kind of like you're saying, it doesn't really matter about the prospect, right? I think for Steven, at least for him, it was much more about making a statement that, hey, FAAB actually is meaningless. It's pretty, it holds no value, right? For the most part, right. Which again, very subjective, but that was kind of the point he was trying to make. And interestingly enough, I was able to kind of talk with Steve after the fact and get some insight from him about, you know, why did he make the on the block post? What, you know, why Arroyo? You know, what was kind of the behind the scenes type of stuff. And he was able to share some good stuff with me, thankfully. The first piece was kind of exactly what you had said, was that he felt like, and he put this in chat too, so it's not like people don't know this, but he feels like there is an overvaluing of FAAB in the conversations that have been had so far in ABL chat and that kind of stuff.
I can agree. I can agree with that.
Yeah, and again, all subjective, but that is what drove him to kind of make that statement, because he felt like he could capitalize on that. He thought that if I put up half the FAAB I have left, I'm willing to sell that for a decent prospect, right? And now it all depends on who is going to come back to him, right, with offers. And he essentially said at the end of the day, he received what he felt like were 3 decent offers. He did receive more than that, but he felt like 3 of them were the best, kind of the top tier. And he just personally liked Arroyo the best out of the 3 that he was offered. And some of the things that he kind of said in terms of why that he felt like sharing, the Mariners' track record, especially with Latin players, young Latin players, and being able to develop them. He's got an impressive K to walk ratio currently, and then he's playing well. He's playing well at single A, and obviously the Mariners moved him up as a really, really young kid to that level, and so they obviously have confidence in him, which I think is kind of interesting. And that kind of leads me to my second question for you, maybe about the trade is, you know, how much do you use statistics like that, or your own personal statistics? Let's say we've had the conversation about, you know, some Twitter handles you follow and stuff like that, and different stats you use.
By the way, yeah. It's working. I have the minor league tracker, and I think all my draft picks, I think they got over like a 800 OPS.
Hell yeah!
And then like my pitchers, I think I have one crappy pitcher, but like their K to walk pretty solid.
Hell yeah!
It's so early.
So with that being said, though, right? So like obviously this is something that, you know, it looks like maybe Steven has maybe a team by team, is because he's looking at, you know, the Mariners' track record with Latin players and stuff like that. You know, how much stock do you put into your stats or any stats in general, or Twitter handles, let's say? How much stock do you put into that from a prospect perspective, again, versus say again something like FAAB, where you have to have a different valuation on it? How much do those stats play into that?
Are you saying? Okay, so to make sure with the phrasing. So how much am I going to bank on a decent statistics to get rid of all my FAAB where I could get an MLB guy? More so, like just
how much are you going to use these statistics to value a prospect? Like, so okay, sure. This prospect hits 3 of 5, so that means to me he has valuation X. Whereas this prospect hits 1 of 5, so he has valuation Y. That kind of thing. How much do statistics play into your valuation of prospects, whether that be for a
I see what you're saying.
FAAB,
I see
whatever?
What you're saying. I feel like, and again, I mean, what can I say? I'm at the bottom of this, but I feel like it's all case by case in the sense that like early on, I'm a little more loose with it. I'm a little more loose with the FABs. I feel like the prospects there's I don't know. It feels like more of an open book. I feel like there's a lot more peaks and valleys with prospects, whereas FAB it kind of keeps its valuation the same. I think this year it might be more valuable than most, but I feel like with prospects it goes up and down. Whereas FAB is just it's a constant value. It doesn't really change for anything. So I don't want to say like I'd probably go with the spec over the FAB if that's kind of what we're going for here.
Okay.
If I really was leaning towards it, but the amount of FAB, that's kind of valuable because I mean the thing is that they're kind of interchangeable. Like you can put the FAB on the prospect.
Yep.
So that's where it's like they kind of go hand in hand.
When all prospects are $1. Right, when you can theoretically,
I would rather have that.
Yeah, when you can theoretically find a top 100 prospect randomly on the waiver wire, and again, not currently top 100, but you find some random guy no one knows about, and then he grows into a top 100. Having that for $1 is incredibly valuable, right? Whether it be as a player or trade prospect.
Having $50 in 20 minor league spots where maybe I'm only going to be able to interchange 5 if they're like really crappy. So it's like, okay, I'm like playing roulette with 5 prospects, $5. I mean, that it means nothing then at that point. And so it's either I use this on a reliever, a backup catcher, like a bullpen catcher at best, or a prospect that I won't see for 3 years. So I get where it's like FAB's not that valuable.
Well, and that's your that I feel like it almost maybe depends too on the type of situation your team is in, and I don't want to feel like a broken record from what like Frank of the Cubs has said for it seems like a couple of years now, but for him, he could give 2 shits what prospects are out there for the most part, right? And from a FAB perspective, right? He has always wanted to be able to field as competitive a team as possible at the MLB level. And so he may look at this conversation and say, Tyler and Cal, I don't give a rip about the valuation of FAB versus prospecting and stuff like that. To me, the value of FAB comes from MLB, which I think is a huge part of this conversation that maybe isn't talked about as much, is that FAB has kind of multiple different levels of valuation because we can use it at MLB. We can use it for prospects. We can also use it for picks, right? You can't say that about the others in a sense. So, which I think is an interesting part to this conversation. But either way, the last piece I wanted to bring up that Steven had shared with me as well, which I thought was an interesting point, but it was also a way to bring Tony Marlins into this, just so we can get his name back on the pod and keep the good vibes out there for him. But Steven said that he feels like one of the most important things in this league specifically is getting to know owners personally and developing relationships with them to the point, not necessarily where you got to have positive vibes, but develop a relationship with them to where you can understand the type of trade partner they are.
100%.
And a couple of reasons he said that were he feels like there's kind of different groups within the league where there's some teams that are more on the negotiating side of things. They may offer low to start, or they may ask high to start, and they're willing to come down or meet up in the middle, something like that. But then there's other owners who are they're going to offer what they feel like is an even value, and they're not going to, if you don't want to make the deal, then okay, they'll go elsewhere essentially. And so Steven said he takes that into account based on the type of owner he is. He likes to deal with owners who think similarly and that kind of stuff, and usually those owners trade more often with each other, and I can certainly see why, right? It's just easier to have those type of discussions. So that was just something interesting. What are your thoughts on that, on the relationship side of things?
I mean, 100%. I mean, I feel like Tony and I always go back and forth because Tony was just like the easiest, like, hey, I mean, I'm just going to go to the bargain bin real quick. What do you got? I mean, it was like a very easy, casual conversation. It wasn't like pulling teeth at all. It was very, very simple. So, I do get that where it's like, if the easier I can make this on both of us, the more likely I can make a better trade for both of our teams. Yep. Instead of having to go through because there are some teams that's just, it is very difficult to start discussions with, because they have. I think the more direct ones, I think, is where it gets a little harder because there's really no moving them. I mean, I respect the heck out of it. You know what you want, you know what you like, But as far as like, okay, but can we make something work? It's like, no, this is what I want.
Yeah.
This is what I want. That's it's a little tougher on that one.
Yeah. And I think you, as you alluded to, that's probably because that's not how you usually deal, right? That's not usually how you have discussions. And I think it's, that could be for a lot of different reasons. That could be because there's a knowledge gap. That could be because there's just simply a subjective gap between I value X player in this way and you value X player that way, right? I mean, very, very different, which some owners are okay with and are like, all right, we just agree to disagree. It's not going to work. Like, that's fine. Certainly there are other owners who get frustrated by that because they like their evaluations and they think that their evaluations are what everyone should evaluate at, and so that obviously plays a part in it as well.
I got a few jungling. Right?
Yeah,
Just coming through.
Right. I mean, 100%. And it even isn't necessarily always an owner thing. Sometimes it's a player thing, right? Like, I just feel X about player, and this is his value, 100%. And everyone should value him this way, and that kind of stuff. So it's really always a really interesting thing to think about talking about relationships and stuff. But one thing I just saw, Zach had posted in chat that he picked up Ragans last year with FAAB from the waiver wire, which again, you get someone like that off the waiver wire. I mean, that is, that's like what 0.0001% of all FAAB pickups in our league. But at the same time,
pretty valuable. That's not happening every day.
It's not, but is having, 3, 4, 5 extra FAAB to be able to be in play for someone like that. Is that an argument that can be made? I guess.
I guess
sure.
Best way to describe it is like, like how many chips at the casino can you have essentially, and just put on the roulette table. Yeah. And 35.
You want to have more
hits.
Yeah. You want to have more.
Sure. I would like to have the most chips to play. Which the thing, what's interesting though is like when you brought up is that the people who are advocating for the FAAB are the ones who aren't at the casino.
Yeah.
That's where it's interesting. And I'm just I totally understand it. I totally get it. It's like I want to field a competitive MLB team. Yep. But I the values only go so far with it too. Yeah. Because the value is in the Reagans. That's because Reagans was not like a major. I would assume he probably called up late. I think probably mid-year June-ish. So that was definitely a dart throw. I mean, not much of a dart throw because Zach obviously knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But it still is like, I hope this pays off. Oh, whoops, I have a Cy Young candidate. Yep.
Well, and I think the plan. If we look at, or if we talked to Frank of the Cubs too, and even in the past couple of days, he's been very vocal about how he, went the wrong route with selling everything he could to get FAAB, to do whatever to get these new players, and that really hurt his team long term, right? So there's that side of it too, where it's like, well, if you have too many chips, right, and you're all bought in now to win, a little bit now, but down the line you're just going to lose a lot more. That, which I guess that's a casino's motto, right? Come in, we'll give you 300 now, so you can lose 3,000 later. I think that's a very fair point. That it's a really good analogy, to be honest with you. So, really interesting stuff. Cool. Well, anything else you wanted to add about the FAAB side of things, or?
No. Overall, I do. I'm hoping it's not going to. I hope this doesn't turn into a huge discussion post pod. I just see this being like hopefully a new of the same.
That's the point, right? That's the point.
But I guess it's fair if we get discussion going. But I just don't want it to be the same thing where it's like we know we discuss this. I love discussion, but when it's the same ones, that's where it's a little bit okay, whatever.
Yeah, well, and it's nice too that you and I can come on here and not have to worry about anyone else.
We have no recourse. We don't have to answer for anything. I'm just gonna go dark for the next week and then hopefully pop back up on this thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see how many times we get tagged here after this with
hey,
great job on the podcast, guys.
Dude gets involved. Everyone break it up. Yeah.
Too funny. All right, cool. Well, if obviously Cal and I will be around if we need to discuss the FAAB trades anymore. So feel free to keep it up. I'm always happy when I see the little notification that says someone's talking in the ABL chat. That always makes me happy. I get a little release of dopamine, we'll say, when I see that. So, all right. So let's just move on to the current week preview. Look at some of the matchups if you're good with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, looking through just kind of let's go on to scoring period 3 here. So just kind of looking through the matchups, for me, I felt like for the most part, it was a pretty balanced schedule across the board for most teams. Let's see, we're in week 4 here. There wasn't really any team that was playing like 3 really hard teams or 3 really bad teams. It didn't feel like. So that was kind of one big standout, which I don't know about you, but I feel like that has not been the case the first 3 weeks of the season.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Even then, like there's not even divisional matchups, like important divisional matchups. This is kind of a blasé week. Just go score some points and be done with it.
Yep.
That's kind of the goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree with you there.
And then the second kind of piece, which I know you are very, very invested in, is the battle of the winless.
Yeah.
We have the Rangers, Angels, and White Sox. And I personally, just looking through who you guys are playing this week, I personally thought you have the best shot this week. Mainly because of what was referenced earlier, where you are playing. Let's see, I'm trying to find the matchup here. You are playing the Reds, as Lenny said, and Lenny said you're beating them as of right now. So that's great. And I literally just realized Lenny's not in here. That's Adam who's in here. Adam was talking about you beating Lenny.
Yes,
I just reread the comment. I saw it was good as gold, and I'm like, that's Adam. That's not Lenny. So there we go. Yeah, so it's Adam. Sorry, Adam. My apologies for that. So you essentially play Lenny, which I was like, that's of all the matchups, because like Sam has the Braves, Royals, Padres, all decent teams, obviously, and then the White Sox, where are they at? They have the A's, obviously not easy, the Pirates, obviously not easy, and their third one, and then Frank and the Cubs, again another tough team. So I think this might be your week.
This is the week. This
might be your week. If you want to go out on a limb.
Enjoy June 1st, losers. I'm freaking going for it all. I'm going for it after this week.
Hey, you're going to be fighting for the playoffs, at least, at minimum, right?
This is how it happens. You win. You just got to win the one. You don't get a winning streak if you don't win your first one.
100%. 100%.
This is how it goes. It's just math.
My last piece that I had was the NL West. I'll pull up the standings here real quick. Just because, as I mentioned earlier, all 5 teams above 500. And so essentially, I'm asking this week, will there be some more separation in the NL West? Clearly, the Giants and Dodgers have performed at the highest level, with the Padres being relatively close. Again, we talked about the Rockies kind of sliding. Diamondbacks maybe getting a little lucky. Especially considering as of right now they haven't played anyone in the NL West. I don't know if that's changing this week or not, but so will there be some separation potentially this week with some divisional matchups? Potentially. But I know you had something about the NL East as well, or AL. NL East. Sorry, NL East.
Yeah, I do think that looking at it here, I think the Phillies have kind of a tough road ahead of them. They got a slate of the Rockies, the Tigers, and the Yankees, which I think if they can go 1-2, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe a 1-2 week. Yeah. Phillies are still a really good team. Like they could easily pull out a 3-0.
Yep.
But it's still not an easy week, especially when you compare it to the Mets, who are playing myself, Lenny, and the Padres, which also feels like that could be maybe like a 2-1 week. Yep. Average out. So just like that one swap of like the 1-2 week, 2-1. I mean, that's division lead for the Mets.
Yep.
So I would keep an eye on that and see how that develops. But,
yeah, that'll be interesting. For good matchups for sure. And again, across the board, it feels like, I didn't go through and count, but kind of as you were saying, it feels like this week there's more divisional matchups, which is good. Certainly that's something that we all love, to be able to play people in our division. I love beating Brendan's ass whenever I can. John's always been tough too since year one. Him and I have gone back and forth too, and obviously Mark and Tom now as well. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up for this week. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, not much other than, freaking go Raiders. That's really all I got.
Yeah. Come Thursday, where Cal and I will be on the couch. It's boneless BOGO Thursday at Buffalo Wild Wings.
What?
So that's going to be happening for sure.
I might have some reservations. I'm going to get reservations at the B-Dubs.
Hey, that's what you got. Hey, that's what DoorDash is for, brother. Sit at home on your couch.
They're going to say, what are you doing? You don't do reservations. I say, no. Put me in the back where you do the football draft. put me back there in the closed glass door room.
Yeah, special VIP type
Just
stuff.
me and the only guy in there. Like, is that guy okay? No, he's watching the draft. Obviously.
I love it. Well, we have a little bit of a preview for next week, at least for those of you who are still listening or listening to this afterwards. Cal is going to be bringing out his first tier list of
We're back.
the regular season. So we are going to be coming in with something spicy. He has not shared with me anything yet. We'll get a little bit of a preview beforehand, but yeah, he's cooking up something spicy for next week. So we'll make sure to put that out in Discord and let y'all know that. It's
I'm running it through the computer now, which I'm not gonna say what the computer is, but no one can get mad at me about the tier list because it's through a computer.
Not a chance. Hey,
That's
it's
what it
stats.
is.
It's
Get mad at the
it's
computer.
stats.
Don't get mad at me.
It's objective stats. That's what it is.
Well, I'm not using stats either. I'm using the computer.
It's still
I'm not using anything.
It's
I'm just
it's objective
computer.
regardless. Objective
Yes.
regardless. Whatever you're
Don't
using.
get mad at me about it. That's all I'm saying. And it's not. It's the computer's here. I am just a messenger from it. So please do not get mad. It's
I
not
love
stat based or anything. Just don't get mad, please.
Love it.
So there you go.
Love it so much. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. Cal, I know appreciates it as well. I'll speak for him. But we will be back next week. More power rankings, more discussion, more tier lists. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see y'all next week.
I like to get paid, that's why I work every day. I'll be making money till I'm in my grave. Don't care what they say, I'll buy time with my money. Laugh to the bank, cause it's funny. The money keep coming, I manifest it. Seen these lyrics in your get it. I'm the bank, come invest it. I get tracked and I have it. Money finds me attracted. I'm the type to make commas and a profit. With the bunkers, but it ain't chocolate. I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. Usually modest, but the speed lit. So I'm going off the list, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in trip. I'm with the wildest, I gotta admit that it's really modest. But I work hard for my shit. I do the work, yeah, I do it till it hurts. I'll invest in my future, I'll invest in the purse. I wanna be so rich, life changes. And I don't ever think about how much I just pay it. Yeah, it's a dream, the American dream. Live a dream, don't stop till you got everything. But there's balance, cause this life is a challenge. You gotta live in the now, I'm building on the type to make commas and a profit. I'm the boss with the bunkers, but it ain't chocolate. I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. Usually modest, but the speed lit. So I'm going off the list, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in trip. I'm with the wildest, I gotta admit that it's really modest. But I work hard for my shit. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So you work until it's certain, cause that's when you start deserving everything you want, everything you need. Trust the process, so you got to keep on working till you bleed. Yeah, been there, yeah, done that. 10 long years of breaking my back, but now I'm up here, never looking back. I got more dreams that I wanna go with. Keep on going, keep on moving, never give up. I'll keep going, I can prove just what I made of. I got that fire, I got that desire. I'm never tired, I'll be pushing till I'm finally free. I was made to break away from the past, to challenge, to fight, and to fight my own path. This world wasn't made for the weak, they don't last. Survival of the fittest, so be vicious and attack. I'm the type to make turn a profit. I'm the boss with the bunkers, but it ain't chocolate. I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. Usually modest, but the speed lit. So I'm going off the list, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in trip. I'm with the wildest, I gotta admit that it's really modest. But I work hard